Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. Can long-distance relationships withstand the test of time? Today on rSpace, this cheater enjoyed every perk to her new job position, including her hot young boss. Wife cheated on me with her young boss when I was working hard in another city. I, 43 male, have been living in Chicago for the last 2 years for job purposes. My wife, Jill, 39 female, and our 9-year-old son are put in our hometown in Houston. Pre-pandemic, I used to run a garage with my friend while Jill worked as an executive. We didn't make much, but it was manageable. We lived in our own house. I had inherited it from my family. My parents retired early from their day job and went to live on our countryside farm to lead their lives in peace amidst nature. My father loads up his truck every 2 weeks with all the dairy products, fruits, veggies, and potatoes, depending on the season, grown on his farm and ships it to us. So yeah, we save a lot there. Life was smooth. Bam! COVID hit and we lost everything. Everyone went indoors, there were no cars on the road, and people were selling off their vehicles because they couldn't pay their mortgages. Our garage followed the same fate. We had to shut it down and close the lease because we couldn't pay the rent. Jill's company also got shut, and she lost her job. Our only hope was the grains, vegetables, and milk we were getting from my parents' farm. Yes, we had savings, but that was wearing out sooner than we thought. The government and local communities sponsored groceries and other essentials, and it saved people like us. When things started opening up, I thought to take up a job because setting up the garage all over again in that condition was not possible. But to my dismay, most of the garages were permanently shut down because the owners could not pay the mortgage. The ones that were running were not hiring new employees, and any employee for that matter. The business was low, and the owners themselves were running the show. Same was the case for Jill. She too didn't get back her job. After a lot of struggle and cold reach, finally one of my distant cousins told me that there was a vacancy at his workplace, but that was in Chicago. It was a job at a car manufacturing unit. The pay was good, and besides, I had no other option than to take this job. We had almost no savings left, and there was no hope of finding a job in Houston. I left for the job, leaving my wife and son at home. The company gave me food and shelter, and I got 15 days leave every 6 months to visit my family. For the first year, it was smooth. Despite the distance, Jill and I were still very close. She always motivated me to work harder so that I could move them to Chicago. I was living in a dormitory provided by the company. Though the factory was located in a suburb, it was still expensive to bring family here. We both knew that it was a long journey, but we were hopeful to be living together shortly. After my long working hours, talking to Jill was the only thing that kept me refreshed and going. Things have started changing after my last home visit, 6 to 7 months back. Jill got a job at a startup company. I didn't notice any evident change except that she was not available for me every day. It was understandable. Earlier, she was a homemaker, so she could make time for me every time I called. Now, with her job, this was unrealistic to expect. However, I noticed some changes in her when I went home during my last vacation. She was way too guarded about herself and her phone. She was not talking freely, and I felt like she was careful about whatever she spoke. This wasn't the case earlier. Yeah, before that, when she first started her job, she had a tough time with her boss. She's a secretary to CEO's office. She worked for a startup run by young, just out of college graduates who are very rude to their employees. Jill couldn't take the harshness and resigned after a few months. After her resignation and her long email about a toxic workplace, her CEO called her back, promising to mend his ways. A lot of employees were leaving the company because of his bad attitude. Her earnings were a cushion for us. She used to save most of it because I provided all the household expenses despite her job. It expedited our process of living together. She withdrew the resignation and rejoined. Things got better for her, and she told me that her boss was now way more polite and respectful. It looked sorted. Fast forward to 3 months back. Jill told me that her boss, the CEO, was going for a 5-day investor summit in Dublin, and he wanted Jill to accompany him. She denied it initially because she couldn't leave our son alone for 5 days, but her boss has offered to let our son accompany them at the company's expense. Honestly, I have no idea how these corporate companies operate. How could they afford to spend so much on unnecessary stuff like this kind of travel? But anyways, I left it for Jill to decide. She said it was important for her career, and she went. I may sound possessive, but I felt uneasy about her trip but didn't say anything. She called me regularly and kept me updated during the trip. I FaceTimed with my son daily, and we did that too during the trip as well. He was very excited to visit a new place. It was his first time outside of Houston. Eventually, I eased up. There was no evident change in Jill after the trip, nothing that I read in the confession here, like ignoring me or becoming cold, etc. I wouldn't have been writing this if I didn't go home last month. I didn't tell her the exact date of my visit. I wanted to give her a surprise. I had done this before as well, but this time she was more shocked than happy to see me at the door. Her face didn't light up on seeing me. It was grim, though she pretended to be excited, but you you can make out this subtle change in your partner. Then she was very guarded about her phone and about her own being overall. When you meet your partner after 6 months, obviously you want to get intimate. Every time she used to pounce on me on the same very night of my visit, but this time she seemed reluctant. I asked her what had happened. She said nothing. She behaved like a virgin schoolgirl who just coordinated the entire action, feeling guarded about herself and without taking any initiative. I don't know, I felt she was scared about something I might find out. I confronted her, but she didn't acknowledge that there was anything unusual. But over the next few days, she became normal. Not very proud to say this, but I snooped into her phone that very night after she slept. No, there was nothing. The chats with her boss had nothing except work-related stuff. No suspicious phone calls, and the gallery was clean. When she was out for work, I asked my son the details about the Dublin trip, and nothing came out from there either. I came back to work after the holidays, happy and satisfied. A week ago, Jill again told me she was going for a 2-day work trip with her boss to Florida, and this time without her son. He has his exams which he can't miss, so he will be living with my in-laws for those 2 days. I don't know, guys, if I'm being a jerk here, but I really don't have a good feeling about this. I asked her who all were going. She said it was just her and her boss. Her company has 2 founders, but she goes with just one of them every time. I find it very weird. I don't know if I'm being a moron to suspect her, but I just don't want to ignore the red flags early on and get fooled. Has anyone been in this situation before? Any advice, pro tips? Highly appreciated. It's odd for the CEO to just okay taking a child along on a work trip, especially when she was supposed to be working there and not necessarily taking care of her son. That seems like a big red flag. And then for her demeanor to change, the fact that this is raising suspicion seems fair. Can you tell her that her behavior towards you last visit has left you feeling uneasy? Let her know that you've noticed some changes and that you want to understand what might be going on with her. I'm sorry, OP. Working and living away from a family is hard, and when your partner isn't excited to see you after some time, I can imagine that to be gutting. Update 1. Hello all. It's been quite a while since my last post. I connected with a lot of men who were deployed outside their hometown, and they faced a similar situation. Seeing my circumstances, most of them suggested that I give Jill the benefit of the doubt because I couldn't find any substantial evidence suggesting her cheating. I did that. After her trip to Dublin in Florida, she went on many more work trips to cities like Amsterdam, Seattle, etc. Surprisingly, never in Chicago, where I live. A month ago, I got my second promotion, a long-awaited one with a substantial hike. I was so delighted when it was announced. I immediately called up Jill and told her about this, but her reaction was far from being happy. And you know why? Because this meant that she and my son could move in with me. I asked her if she was not happy that I got my long-awaited promotion. I worked here for 4 years, double shifts on most of the days to earn my promotion so that I could be with my family again. She said she was happy about the promotion, but was not sure about shifting to a new place. She said she had worked so hard to rebuild her career, and now she didn't want to waste it again. I suggested she could get a new job in Chicago, but she didn't like that idea. She said she was expecting a promotion and had worked her butt off to make a name for herself in the company, and now she couldn't leave without a promotion. It didn't go down well with me because she was pushing back a lot. I mean, if I had the chance, I would have definitely left my job to live with my family. Her salary was a quarter compared to mine, and she could have got a similar paying job easily here. Yet she was not ready to leave her job. It led to several fights and arguments between us, but she shifted her reason towards our son that his school and curriculum would be disrupted. My son is a soccer enthusiast and has been getting trained at a community club. I assured her I would find him a good training club here, but she was reluctant, saying shifting here would mean a complete disruption in our son's life. Some of her reasons made sense, but I felt she never wanted to share a house with me. Finally, we came to a conclusion that we would wait for another year, save some more money, and then think about the decision. 2 to 3 months into this, and Jill tells me that she wants to move to Chicago with me. I asked her what happened all of a sudden. She said she had just changed her mind and our son needed me. A few months back, when we were fighting over this, she reasoned out that we shouldn't disrupt our son's curriculum. At that time, our son's class academic year had just ended, and it would have been easier for us to get him admitted to a new school in Chicago. Now his new academic session had started, and it would be so difficult to get him admitted mid-year. I told her to wait for this year and they could come next year, but she got adamant about living together. I asked her about her job, and she said she was ready to quit the job. Family is more important than anything else. I really don't know what is driving this change in her, but I definitely suspect something fishy. She has even got to a point where she's ready to delay our son's academic session by a year. I discussed this with some of my local colleagues here, and they assured me that they would help me in getting my son admitted mid-session. I'm planning everything else to bring him here with me, house setup, car, school, etc. But deep down, I feel she is not doing this for me. There's something else. I'll update the thread if I'm successful in getting through the truth, else it might just be my overthinking. It's disappointing that she wasn't more excited about your news, even though it's sort of what had been planned all along. Her not wanting to give up on a job she supposedly put a lot of effort and energy into is fair, but again, wasn't it the plan to move in with you all along? And shouldn't decisions always be made in the best interest of the child? Update 2. Hello everyone. So, it came out that my wife was indeed cheating on me, and I found out everything when she shifted with me in Chicago. As I mentioned in my last update, she suddenly told me she wanted to move in with me and that she was ready to quit her job. I was both happy and suspicious about the entire thing, but I made all the arrangements for them. My cousin, who referred me to this job, helped me in getting my son admitted to the same academic year. He also helped me procure an affordable rental apartment. So, Jill and my son shifted with me, and I couldn't be happier. Whatever suspicions and doubts I had in my mind, it all vanished when we started living together. It was a happy time. However, as time passed, I realized that Jill was not the same woman I had married. Yes, time changes all of us, but it was not a good change. She became snappy and guarded. Whenever I confronted her, she said she was missing her hometown, friends, and family there. I too was living away from family for so long. I kind of empathized with her, but one night, I found her weeping over the phone. I eavesdropped on the conversation and realized that she was pleading with someone to take her back. So, instead of hiding or investigating anything, I just confronted her after she was done with the call. Yes, I heard it all, and it was quite clear. I'm glad that she didn't lie or manipulate the situation. She confessed everything. It just so happened that her young boss effed her, quite literally. It started on their first Dublin trip. After a successful investment deal, they got so happy and drunk that they lost control and did that. After that, they did it every night after our son fell asleep. This disgusted me so much that I wanted to punch her effing face right there. They continued to screw even after the trip, and every business trip they'd been together, it was more of a screwing trip. That was the reason she didn't want to leave her job. However, when she told her boss that I wanted her to be here with me, but she had refused because of him, he got scared and told her that he wasn't serious about those physical things. He asked her to prioritize her family over him. She flipped out. Though she knew it was just for fun, somewhere she felt hurt that he wasn't as involved as she was. He even showed her the woman he had been dating casually. So, Jill was basically his sex toy. Isn't this evident? It goes without saying that he wasn't going to marry her or ever get serious about her. I don't know what she was thinking before trading off her marriage for cheap sex. When the CEO didn't reciprocate Jill's feelings, she took it to her ego and quit the job. This time, he didn't even bother to ask her the reason and released her. It looked like he desperately wanted to get rid of her, and her resignation made things better for him. She thought he would beg and plead with her to stay. Why would he? He is the owner of the company. He can have many girls lined up for him. Why would he run after her? Jill was an easy source of entertainment for him, and he exploited it. She was a fool to take him seriously. Now she is calling and pleading with him to take her back, and he's asking her to move on. It amazed me to know that she was ready to be his mistress. She was telling this over the call. I asked her how she was able to pull this cheating for so long. She said their conversations were face-to-face, and they worked from the same cabin for 8 to 10 hours a day. Makes sense. That was the reason I couldn't find anything on her phone. Neither she texted or called him during my 15-day home visit. They were together for half the day. Why do they still need to talk over the phone? Her boss was anyways not emotionally involved in her, so talking wasn't needed. He wanted actions, and she refused to give him that in his cabin. Yes, she told me that. They had regular sex in his cabin, bolting the doors and switching off the cabin cameras. The revelation made my head so heavy, I asked her to leave me alone. It was already morning by the time our confrontation was over. I slept through the day. When I woke up in the evening, I saw that she had made my favorite food. She acted so normal and said we could start over fresh. I said no way. I was here working my butt off day and night for a better life for my family, and she was there getting down for her CEO. She acted shocked when I uttered the word divorce. She was like, "How could you do that to me? I left everything for you. I stood by you in the struggle days when you made nothing, and now when you're earning well, how could you abandon me?" She did support me in distress, but she also faltered and cheated on me. I too did my part of being a good husband. Long distance was difficult for me too. I too was craving for family and sex life, but I didn't choose infidelity. She did. She kept saying sorry, making all sorts of promises, but I didn't back off. I told her I'd be booking tickets for her return and would send the divorce papers soon. Thank God I had a prenup with her, which is going to save a lot for me. Details for next update. Currently, I'm not in a stable mind frame. I left the house and have been living in the company's dorm. We'll make the final update after sorting out this mess. Well, she sure was putting in a lot of effort and energy into that new position, wasn't she? I'm sorry, OP. Honestly, so while you were off working, she was off playing house with your son in Dublin. Update 3. Hello everyone. Thanks for all the support. People commented that I missed the red flag and the wives cheat in long-distance relationships. Not taking any offense, Pat. Guys, I was alert from the start. Noticed the slightest change in her behavior and discussed that openly. I called her daily and had transparent conversations every now and then. I even checked her phone whenever I visited home. I don't know what else I should have done to avoid the cheating. So yeah, my divorce proceedings have started. I had booked their tickets to return back home. My son is too small to live alone without his mother, and with my working condition, it's not possible for me to take care of him. Besides, he was away from me for so many years, it's not the best thing to keep him with me. I'm hoping when he grows mature and understands things, he will understand me. Jill pleaded with me that she had lost everything and didn't have any means to live on her own. I offered to let her stay in the house until I was back in her hometown. We had a prenup that she could not claim my property in a divorce popping out of cheating, so she could not have my house. I agreed to a child support for my son, so she gets nothing from the divorce. Even after she left for Houston, she kept contacting me, asking for one last chance to fix our relationship. She was hopeful that I would forgive her for the sake of our son. Now, yes, people do that. They forgive their cheating partner for the sake of their children. Call me egotistical or whatever. I wasn't ready to take her back just to give my son a false illusion of a happy marriage. Finally, after a lot of tussle, the divorce was finalized. She got away with nothing. She lost her job. Her boss was not given good feedback in her relieving letter. He mentioned her being flaky, who resigns at the drop of a hat without any reason. She resigned twice in her tenure without reason, so she's not getting offers from good companies. Also, the market condition of the corporate industry is not so good for the last 1 year. She sometimes sends me voicemails that I have ruined her life. I don't care. Neither I have blocked her. I wanted her to know that I hear everything she says. Still, I'm unmoved by her misery. I want her to know that I don't love her anymore. She had this coming to her, OP. It's unfortunate that the relationship with your son gets hit the hardest here when all you were trying to do was build a life for him. There's no one to blame here but your ex-wife. Her selfish actions put her and your son where they are right now. You shouldn't have to take her back. Your marriage would be a lie, and kids are sensitive to everything. Guaranteed your ex would continue to cheat on you with someone else, given her flaky past. What do you make of all this? Do you have a similar story? If you were OP, would you have returned home or would you have maintained the course? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.